Now, after the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, the Japanese rapidly continued their conquest of the Western Pacific. American and British bases were overrun throughout the area. There was only bad news coming out of the Pacific War as we saw defeat after defeat during the early months of the war and after Pearl Harbor. Folks, after Pearl Harbor, this nation and its citizens could not hold their heads up. They were morally defeated. Pearl Harbor was such a monumental event, and we were taking a shellacking. And then in an airplane, just like this one, Jimmy Doolittle took off with 80 men and 16 airplanes, April 18th, 1942. Damage that they did, it was minimal. It was like firecrackers. However, psychologically, it forced the Admiralty of the Japanese to move the fleet way out to the Midway Islands. And from the Doolittle raid, that changed the war for us. Now here comes Panchito, named after a feisty rooster in the 1940s Disney release, Three Amigos. This is what the Japanese might have seen. The Bombay doors are open. There is a look at the business end of the airplane. Inside of where those bombs were kept. Now North America built this airplane. There's 1,700 horsepower on each side of that airplane. The engines are right engines and they bark. Here comes Doug Rosendahl with the Tuskegee Airman P-51. Give Doug a big round of applause as we get ready for the second pass of Panchito. Now, as Panchito makes the turn back to show center, the crew will show you, as we said, the business side of the aircraft. They would have a full load of 500-pound bombs or general demolition bombs. In addition to that, they were covered with cannon fire in the nose, in the sides, in the tail, on the top, and on the bottom. These airplanes, this twin-engine airplane, faster in the dive in World War II than many of the fighters we had before the war started. There is the business end again with the Bombay doors open. Now, the B-25 was widely used for low-level dive bombing, especially against the Japanese naval targets. Now, watch as Panchito simulates a dive bombing attack on a Japanese warship. The attacking B-25 would be scraping the ship as it approached and then drop either a 500-pound or a 1,000-pound bomb on the ship as it passed over. Now, with the cameras mounted in the B-25, they had such awesome cannon power against the enemy's naval fleet that quite often they would see the crew members leaving the ship, jumping over the deck, rather than take the wrath of the cannons and the bomb of this aircraft. A lot of the time, the big sergeants were ripping up the cannon fire on the outside of the aircraft out into the field, even putting on 75-millimeter cannons. And that was a devastating attack power that they had as not only a dive bomber, but a dive attack aircraft. The enemy was very much afraid of this airplane. Panchito will now approach for a low-level bombing run. The Bombay doors will open their show center. The original design of the B-25 as well as its sister ship, the B-26, was for medium altitude level bombing. But as we show in a minute, Bombay doors open, low level path. Crews modified the aircraft to make it a much more potent weapon. And then what happened? The factory engineers said, these guys are doing this out in the field. We need to bring these aircraft home. We cycled them through the factory, and we will help them put in these guns. They showed us where to put them. They showed the position. They showed it couldn't work. Let's help them out and do it at the factory. So a lot of the original design happened in the field through innovation. We thank the maintenance sergeants for that. Now, the original design mission of the medium bombers was mainly for level bombing and machine gun strafing. Fixed machine guns for strafing ground and sea targets for field modifications, as we said. They had 12 fixed forward-firing machine guns for the strafing role. You can imagine 4 of these B-25s approaching the Japanese airfield at peak-shot height, still over 300 miles an hour, and 50-caliber machine guns blazing across that territory, ripping up everything on the ground that was potential harm to our Allied pilots and destroying the enemy's ability to fight back.
Waiting on it to happen like
now get the cameras ready, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to reposition the airplane as Panchito's crew brings her around for her signature photo pass. Get your cameras ready as bring it around to see a beautiful profile of North American Aviation's B-25 bombers. Over your right shoulder, get a load of this. Now they're going to tip that left wing down towards the earth and do what we call a banana pass. Your right shoulder, your eyes, and your camera. Get a load of this. All right, you guys. Bring that wing down just a little bit. There we go. Absolute beauty. Other uses for the airplane after the war, they did go out and fight wildfires. Although they were not the most successful platform to do that, it was soon discontinued. They used it for an airborne camera ship for movie work because of its speed and the ability to place a motion picture camera shooting out of the tail, out the rear of the aircraft, as we in Hollywood say, Pauline, the POV, the point of view. I had to throw that in. At any rate, the camera's out the tail, showing the action in a camera pod on the top of the fuselage, and then the great Paul Mance put a big, clear plexiglass nose piece, and he had that panoramic camera that was revolutionary back in the 50s, the big surround camera. They did a lot of filming around the world, filming nature, like flying down into the Grand Canyon. Well, here is a tribute to the disabled American veterans. If you are of that great group, we thank you for what you did for our country. Your monument is being constructed as we speak within sight of the U.S. Capitol. It will be a permanent monument to the disabled American veterans from all conflicts. And in addition to that, there is a coin that is available at the U.S. Mint that commemorates, that is, the disabled American veterans. And by the way, I signed up, I purchased mine, and I have one on display. For the first time in our nation's history, a monument will be built to honor and offer permanent tribute to those who are among America's most courageous heroes. It will be a star-shaped bump within sight of the U.S. Capitol, its surface broken by a single ceremonial flame.